And I'm raising these issues just so that we can try and fix the problem rather than ignore it. I can speak, but there are hundreds and thousands of people that cannot speak out, that nobody knows them, that are suffering injustice in the hands of the EFCC. And I think that is something that...
All right, let me quickly take you to some issues outside of the prisons and custody. Your party, which you stood for, and which perhaps some of the stands that you had is giving you this kind of trouble that you're seeing today, is in crisis right now. Yeah. Are you sticking with the party?
But of course, the PDP is my party. I will never leave the party.
You're never considering going back to the APC?
I would never. The APC... absolutely out of the question. Until kingdom comes, until Jesus returns, that will never happen.
But you left the PDP for the APC.
Well, we've discussed that on many, many occasions. I've told you my reasons for doing that. At that time, I was not happy with the way that things were being run by President John. No. Look, never. I would never, because I told you before, when I left the APC, when I went to the APC for 9 months, and I saw what was going on there, I knew what was going to happen if they had power, and I think every person ought to resist that. Now, I went back to the PDP, I played a leading role in the campaign. I'm very proud of the fact that compared to the present administration, the Jonathan administration did very, very well. And I believe that the PDP is still the vessel that will take us to the promised land, despite all the problems that party is having presently. Now, I came on your program a few months back, and I spoke about Ali Modu Sheriff very effectively, and I told you my concerns at the time. He happens to be a personal friend of mine. It's nothing personal. It's just that I disagreed with the fact of his choice. And there was an uproar at the time with some of the things that I said. But look at it now. The very people that put him there have come to agree with me and have told me privately and have said it publicly that I was absolutely right. I was a lone voice at the time, together with the ministers, PDP Ministers Forum, and we championed the fight against him. It wasn't anyone else. It wasn't the BOT. We did it. I started it, together with the Honourable Minister Turaki, Suleiman, and so many other former PDP ministers. And we've been vindicated, because look at what has happened now. The governors that put him there have now turned around and said he was a great mistake, and they're fighting. And I said he would divide the party, he would destroy the party if we allow. They didn't believe. They gave him 3 months. Giving him 3 months was a mistake. They gave him 3 months. He has virtually destroyed the party. But I thank God that sanity has returned. The convention has dissolved the sheriff chairmanship and working committee. And now you have McAfee, a very level-headed, compassionate, decent man that is leading the party, together with the caretaker committee, which will now usher in a new convention. And let's hope after that, opposition can be provided, because we need to provide opposition to this government.
What role will you be playing right now, politically?
Well, let's see how things unfold. But I intend to be very relevant. I intend to continue to play politics. I intend to play a very critical role. I was proved right on the Buhari administration. That they would fail, and they have failed. I was proved right on the issue of Ali Modu Sheriff, that he would fail, and he has failed. I've been proved right on virtually everything I'm saying. And what I'm telling you is this, and this is what I would like you to hold in this interview, if nothing else, that if we're not careful, the very essence of our nationhood, coming back to the question you asked me earlier, is being questioned now. It's not a question of, God deliver Nigeria anymore, God bless Nigeria anymore. The question now is, should people begin to pray that God should break Nigeria? It's not a question of God deliver Nigeria anymore. The question that some are asking now is, should we be praying that God should break Nigeria, should not just deliver Nigeria, but deliver us from Nigeria? Because the truth of the matter is that if we are going to continue as one nation, every tribe, every region, every religious faith has to be made to feel as being part and parcel of the country. And my fear is that if we continue like this, that is not, once that doesn't happen, it will lead to greater agitation, not just for restructuring, because that's never going to happen.
I was going to ask you about restructuring.
It will lead to greater agitation, not just for restructuring, but for the breakup of the country. And that is something we should try to avoid, because those voices are coming out. On the issue of restructuring, that would have been perfect 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when we were calling for that. It's not going to happen, because those that believe that power should reside at the center so that they can continue to control the country at the expense of everybody else. We'll never allow it. The Northwest and the Northeast will never allow it without a fight.
No, it's not only the Northwest and the Northeast that have held power.
Yeah, but that's
Obasanjo from the South.
Obasanjo held power, but he wielded power in a way that everybody felt that they were part and parcel of the country. In fact, to the chagrin and annoyance of most of those of us from the Southwest who felt that, well, he's representing us, he should favor us. He never did that. It's a level playing field. Everybody was equal. If you do it like that, that's the future. That's the way forward. Jonathan did that as well. In fact, Jonathan went as far as to help the Igbos, who frankly had been marginalized for so many years. He really gave them a lot. And that was the right and proper thing to do, given what he has faced. But a situation whereby when everything is reversed, and we're now back to the days of ethnicity, religious politics, where IPOB young IPOB members are being killed by our security forces, where Shia Muslims, over 1,000, are murdered simply because they blocked the road to the chief of staff, where you just have this type of unhindered violence, more violence now in the Niger Delta area. These Avengers are coming up now. Masob is making more noise now. Agitation in the Southwest, agitation in the Middle Belt, ethnic killings. It's because people feel that they are not being carried on and that they are not first-class citizens. So what is the solution? The solution is for the government. And I don't hate President Buhari. I have respect for him. I have affection for him in many ways because the history that my father had with him and his people is there. I have nothing against anybody. I'm just somebody that believes in justice. And the appeal that I would make to him and to those in power today is this, that look, reach out to other parts of the country. Make the Igbos feel as if they're human beings as well. Don't kill their people. Rather, for example, appoint Igbos into the villa. Not one Igbo has been appointed into the presidency since they came into power. Reach out to the South.
He has them as ministers.
That is their constitutional right. You can't exclude them. The Constitution says every state has to have a minister. Outside of that, they have nothing. Not just them, other parts of the country. The entire South has been marginalized. If no other Southerner will come out and say these things, apart from maybe Ayofaji, I will. And the Middle Belt, not just being marginalized, being terrorized by Fulani herdsmen. I appeal to him that one, show more sensitivity to the South and the Middle Belt. Secondly, reach out to them. Make them feel, make it an inclusive government. And then thirdly, and most importantly, lead the country as a man that has no religious agenda whatsoever and treat Christians in the same way that you treat Muslims. And for goodness sake, don't allow the EFCC to be used as a tool to silence the opposition, because we can never be silent. If you kill me or you jail me, others will rise up.
I have two more questions just before we round up. This one is on the fact that the anti-corruption fight. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's balanced?
What do you think? I mean, I'm sorry to put that question to you. 90, well, you should know that. You should know better than people like us because you do your research. You know all the facts. 90. Oh, good question. I'll answer it. 95%, in fact, 99% of allegations and people in detention, and prosecutions, when it comes to this corruption thing, are channeled at PDP members and supporters. So if you want to subscribe to the view that the APC is a party of angels that have never done anything wrong, fine. I don't subscribe to that view. If you're fighting corruption, fight corruption in your own party. Talk about your own Minister of Internal Affairs. Talk about your own Chief of Army Staff. Talk about everybody. Do it to everybody. Ask where your own campaign funds came from, not just where the PDP campaign funds came. Ask
because the PDP held power.
Listen, during the course of the election...
And they had the federal funds.
Well, now they have power, and they're asking questions about the past. It wasn't only the PDP that had power. The APC had power in Lagos State, in Rivers State, and in various other states.
Prosecuted people from
that is the point.
That
is the point that no, hang on. They are investigating. They are investigating many former governors in the PDP. Many office holders in the PDP have been questioned on a daily basis. They just don't tell you. They come there, they answer questions. Some are detained, and they don't want people. And it's not just politicians; it's also businessmen. I saw people like Cletus Ibeto there being treated as if he's a young boy. This is one of the greatest businessmen we have in this country. I saw people like Senator Ayo Adeseun, a 70-year-old man, over 70, being treated like a small boy. They are all people, either PDP supporters, friends of the PDP, and that's why they're being targeted. Nobody from the APC. Now, I repeat, If you want us to feel happy about what's going on, and if you want to engender confidence in the war against corruption, then don't allow it to be selective. I repeat, look at the activities of the various governors of Lagos State, Rivers State, Ogun State, and so many others during the course of the election, how they helped to fund the APC campaign. And then you also go and question. You don't reward them by making them ministers. You question them and you also prosecute them once you have all the facts. You have all the facts, but you don't want to do that. And that's fair enough, because what you're telling the world is that you are in power and you're being selective. That's not the way forward.
Okay, I would love to get this.
By the way, Sean, I'm sorry, just before you come to that, you know, I have got my bail now and I'm in a position to prepare a defense for myself, and I'm ready and I'm delighted and I'm happy that the courts allowed that. So I have to give God the glory for that and thank the fact that our system works. But as long as others like Dudafa, who was the SA to President Jonathan when he was in power on domestic affairs, people like Sambo Dasuki, who was NSA, people like Iyola Omishori, and so on and so forth, and hundreds of others of our people, our leaders and our followers, remain in EFCC detention all over the country. And they've refused bail for most of them. Some the courts have granted bail, like in Dudafa's case, and they have refused to release him up until now. As long as anybody, even if it's one inconsequential person, innocent man, has been locked up and he has been refused bail so he can come and defend himself, then my freedom means absolutely nothing. And I believe that it is important that we all understand we must stand up for our brothers and our sisters wherever they may be, where they are being persecuted. Because where you don't do that, it will eventually come to you.
You spoke very loudly and very strongly about the person of President Muhammadu Buhari, about his certificate, about his person. Do you regret those words?
Why? For goodness sake, we fought a campaign. Put the question to Lai Mohammed. He spoke about President Jonathan. He spoke about President Jonathan's wife. He spoke about all the APC leaders. He insulted us from morning to night. There's nothing he and the others didn't say. Ask him, does he regret what he said? Look, just because you lose an election doesn't mean that there won't be a tomorrow. Nobody remains in power forever. Nobody. They are in power today. I give God the glory for that. And I wish them well. I'm not one of those that wants to destabilize the government. I'm not one of those that wants to divide the country. But I believe that dissent and criticism has a place in a democracy. And I have the right to dissent and to criticize. Even though you want to jail me and kill me for it, I have a right to do that. But I wish them well. Now, you know, but finally, let me say this, that it is very important for you to appreciate the fact that I can never have any regrets about raising issues about those that we fought in order, you know, to try to keep power. We fought, we lost, there's a tomorrow. We will fight again. 2019 is not too far away. We are alive and we are well. If you kill some of us, if you jail some of us, others will rise up. We will fight for power through the democratic process, and power will come back to the light. God will take power away from the forces of darkness, and he will give it back to the powers of light. And this time round, the PDP will do it right and do it properly, and we will never lose an election again.
The PDP can get power in 2019?
Absolutely. There's no hope. I believe what's going to happen is this, and you know, I'm quite prophetic. I think, you look at my record. Okay, God has given me that gift. APC will split into 3 parties by that time. Mark my words. CPC, ACN, that is from the southwest, CPC from the core north, and then what they call the new PDP group led by Atiku and Saraki. They're all going to go their separate ways. They're going to be 3 parties by that time. The PDP will remain as one party once the model sheriff problem has been solved and settled, and it will be the only legitimate vehicle to take power by 2019. Now, that is why they are so desperate to jail, discredit, and destroy all PDP leaders, including myself, before that time. It's not going to work. As long as Jesus sits on the throne, I will not be killed, I will not be silenced, I will not be broken, I will not be jailed, and I will not be destroyed, because God is with me. And neither will our party.
On the final note,
yes.
You still wish this country well? You still are going to work with this current government to achieve success in Nigeria?
I will never work with this government. I will encourage this government to do the right thing. I would always do that, and I'll pray for the president, as the Bible tells us to do, to pray for our leaders. But I would also criticize them where I feel they've gone wrong. And even if you detain me for not just 67 days, but for 1,000,000 days, as long as God gives me life and strength, I will do that. But I wish the country well. And I also pray to God that this government does the right thing in order for us to avoid a disintegration of this country. Because like I said, the voices of division, the voices of disintegration, and those that believe that this country should be broken into 2 or more pieces, are getting louder by the day. And we must not ignore that. We must do all in our power to ensure that everybody feels part and parcel. I have to thank all those that supported me, prayed for me, stood by me, my lawyers, my family, my wife, my little son Aragon, who I miss so much. I didn't see him for 67 days. And so many people, the goodwill, all those on Facebook and in the media and so on and so forth, that have been very good to me, very fair to me. And I give thanks to God for each and every one of them.